How you doing, man? Yes, sir. All right, take it easy now. For the night. Get up early tomorrow morning, deliver this trailer, and go get another. Yeah. Conflict resolution, problem solving. We're talking about amongst people, though, between people. Whether it's at work, and what provoked this in a relationship, you have an issue at hand where there's a disagreement. There's a disagreement, so you have a conflict. Step back, look at. There could be small things within the issue that is causing the problem. So step back and look at the entire situation, because that's how you're going to really put the point of concern that is causing a disagreement into context, to really look at it objectively. You know what I'm saying? But you do also have to definitely be mindful and aware of what the specific thing. You have to identify exactly. I know it's jumbled up. What the problem is. You got to identify what it is, and then put it in the context of the entire issue. Identify what it is specifically you all have a disagreement on. And now, in your mind, or you can together decide to sit down and, sit down, not literally. If you want to sit down, and stand up, but figuratively speaking, sit down and come to the table about what the problem is. Now, as you do that, and each one take turns, listen to the other person's perspective with an open mind. And you're trying to, what is this? What does this say? It's supposed to say, as a matter of fact, let's not even put in the word try. See it from that person's point of view. See the issue from that person's point of view. And communicate your understanding of that person's perspective. Now you might repeat back what it is you believe that other person is saying. Where do you think they're coming from? And that's going to let them know whether or not you get it. You don't have to agree with it, just that you understand how that person is looking at it. And then that person can feel understood. And now you might realize, if you're actually trying to do this, you might realize that that person has a better perspective of the situation. You might also realize that there is no right or wrong. It's just this way and the other way, and maybe something in between. Like if you're trying to, if this is something that must be encountered and dealt with, for instance, handling the budget. Maybe this is about something to do with the budget. So something is going to come up over and over again in the future. So now you might have a different way of looking at it and doing it. Some part of the budget, or spending or whatever you got to do. But anyway, so once you communicate your understanding, you're intentionally trying to understand where that person is coming from, and you communicate your understanding of that person's perspective, then that person knows that they have been heard. And now if you still feel like the way that you are approaching this, your perspective makes more sense, then you say, they're going to be more likely to sit back and do the same and let you speak and understand it. And get out your perspective as well. Now, you communicate your thoughts. Well, let's say your perspective. Now, whether this is about how to do something or why something was done a certain way, you got to remember, if one person went down a path of doing something a certain way, it's based on what they believe, their understanding, their thoughts that led to that path. Which you are a different person, might be used to doing things a different way, or you had a different background, or you think differently, and so you would have done it different. You can't expect this person. It's normal to have disagreements. It's normal to look at things differently. It's normal to have conflict in life if there are ambitious people involved who try to do things and not just sit back and let life happen. It's normal if you're an active parent instead of just a passive, letting the child run the house, but instead you're trying to be intentional about raising that child and teaching lessons and morals or values or whatever. You're going to run into conflict, because not many people will sit down and develop a game plan on how to do this, how to do that, how we're going to do this, how we're going to do that. And then even if you try to do that, you can't think of everything, So communicate your perspective and decide. I'll get ready to spell it with an S instead of a C. Decide no, not the best way. What makes sense? How to do things the best way using both ideas. You won't necessarily always use both. Best way to move forward. The best way to do things moving forward, regardless of whose idea is used. It's just the best way in the context of the, what are you trying to achieve? You know, what other things are being affected? What's going to bring us to the best outcome in lines with our goals, what we want? You know, what is the reason we're doing this thing that we're talking about that we got a conflict on? What is the reason that we're doing it? And now we know what reason we're doing this, then we can put it in context, because one way of doing it might lead to less than desirable results than another way when putting in context of the desired outcome overall. So you want to listen to each other's point of view and each other's perspective, understand, let each person know that you understand how they are looking at it, and then contributing your ideas to what makes the most sense to you. Then sit there together, knowing that you're part of the same team, knowing that you want to resolve this in harmony. You got to live together, you got to work together, you got to have a relationship, so you want harmony. You don't want to be sitting there mad at each other. So this is not a thing to be spiteful or vengeful or manipulative or controlling or ego tripping. It's not that. What is the desired result in the big picture of things? This, whatever's causing this, wherever it fits into the equation, related to your goals and the desired outcome, then that should help inform you on how to go about deciding the best way to move forward. But what happens is, too many couples and business partners and people, too many, they're not dealing with as much logic and common sense and critical thinking and objectiveness. They're not dealing with that as much as they are with this. And you got to let that go. Because what you want is the best outcome, relationship, and we're talking about if something is wrong with one of these people, in other words, you shouldn't be in a relationship. You shouldn't be in a relationship with them. Then this not going to happen. If you got to let that go, then let that go. I'm talking about a healthy relationship, moving forward. You want a long-term healthy relationship, then that's something that's part of the equation. The best outcome, relationship intact. And this is not, the best outcome not for an individual, the best outcome for as related to long-term let's just say goals, because what you're talking about might be more related, because what you're talking about might be related more to short-term goals right now than long-term goals. So you'll have to decide on where you're at in the life cycle. Your 1-year goal might not necessarily be in line with your long-term goal, but it's well, indirectly it is, but it might take you in a different direction in order to get there. That's it, man. This video is getting too long. But anyway, I just was talking to somebody over the weekend that had some serious issues, relationship issues, and so I felt like I needed to do this video. Not to mention what these clowns are doing up there, and what else? Alright, I feel like I did this video before. Let me do something else real quick. Something else that's really very important to this. In communication, you have, both people has a responsibility. One person is sending out one a message. Your responsibility is trying to send it in a way that this person can understand it and only take it in the way that it's meant. So try to think about how you're saying what you're saying. That's what the responsibility of this person. This person has a responsibility as well, to listen, let this person know you understand it, and listen with an open mind. Be careful not to take this in and passing judgment on it, putting your own meaning to what's being said. If you're unsure, or if what's being said to you is sort of vague or ambiguous, then ask questions. Ask questions. So the receiver has a responsibility as well. You're the receiver in this case, then your responsibility is to understand what is being sent to you, you know, and then that's understanding that person's point of view, and then it's your turn to send your message. And then now you have the responsibility to try to send, craft a message that can be taken the way that you mean for it to be taken. You have the responsibility to, this is the receiver now, to not pass judgment on the message, and make sure you understand what this person is saying. If you're not sure how they mean what they're saying, ask a question. Ask questions, and make sure you get the proper understanding. And a lot of times, that's gonna solve the problem right there. Because a lot of times, where the conflict comes in is a person saying one thing, but the other person hearing something different, and you're just on different levels of understanding in the communication. There is a miscommunication. So there you have it. That's it. I'm done. I got to go to work. Take this trailer out here. I had to come back. I just got through eating my eggs. I had to come back because I told you that's a good way to handle conflict resolution, problem solving, if your desired outcome is harmony. You want the relationship to last. Positive relationship. So that would, can you spell this? I mean, can you read this? So that would be a way to handle conflicts and problems if the desired outcome was harmony. The reason this does not work with politics is because this is not the desired outcome. We could care less about this. Their desired outcome is votes. So instead of doing things in the best way for creating the best outcome, the best situation for the people, which is what it's supposed to be, they focus on what do we need to do and how do we need to go about this in order to get votes of the base. And what it causes is disharmony, because too many people can't see this. So they believe everything that they're saying literally and from their perspective and don't question it, and therefore you think the other side is ridiculous and worse, evil. So the reason I wanted to come back with that, after I thought about comparing conflict resolution for you and I to them, to those people up there, is it's important for you to realize this, because when you realize this, then why would you, if you realize this, demand more of your politicians, because you're blindly following them and taking their word, depending on what party you belong to or you're in line with, instead of questioning them. When the reality is, what I just told you before in conflict resolution, that usually there's not one extreme or the other that is the best way of handling something. It's using ideas from both and something more in the middle, something more balanced approach to effectively solve a problem. You need to understand that, because you need to demand, you need to stop having allegiance to these people on either side of the aisle and demand what needs to be done for the people, the country, the desired outcome, your grandkids, your kids, your grandkids, next generations. You're supporting a lot of people, and their desired outcome is not to do what's best for you and your family, it's to do what's best for their party. So you need to think about that and stop hating each other and other groups and people who are not like you. You need to listen and think for yourself and demand that politicians do what the politicians are getting paid to do.